Guys, Ryan here, and we are back with yet another episode. And man, it was a long day of racing, but we saw, honestly, I'd say 2 to 3, probably more closer to 2, pretty much classic races with the Indy 500, Coke 600 doubleheader, and yeah, we're gonna talk about it all and more here on this episode of Running with the Pack. So I'm gonna really briefly brush up on the Indy 500. I know this isn't really an IndyCar show traditionally, but we are gonna talk about it because the Indy 500 is the biggest race in the world. So, yeah, congratulations to Marcus Ericsson on the win. Scott Dixon finds another way to blow an Indy 500 attempt after 2000. After 2008, he has done so well trying to win these races and just can't seem to find a way to win them. Ultimately, the best Ganassi car outside of Ericsson was Tony Kanaan in third. He was also the best of the former champions. Paddle Award looked like he had a shot to win this thing. Just really quick about the whole red flagging to try and get a green flag run. If it's a worry about, okay, it might take 10-15 minutes to clean up this situation, you don't want to run the last, say, 7, 8, 9 laps under the yellow flag, sure, you can red flag it to try and save the time and try and get a 6, 7 lap restart. But red flagging it that close to the end and ultimately only giving 2 laps of racing, first off, you lead to the issue that we almost saw by Ed Carpenter, who had a great run going inside the top 10. I don't know where he ultimately ended up finishing. He ended up finishing 19th, so not a great finish for him, but yeah, he had an electronics issue trying to get back up, and I don't think he ever really got back to his original restarting spot. But yeah, the same thing that plagued Will Power at the Detroit race last year that handed Marcus Ericsson his first career NTT IndyCar Series win. So ultimately, Ericsson was leading before the red flag, and he won the 2-lap shootout without another major serious accident. So that's definitely a positive. The rookies all did fairly well. Malukas, Kirkwood, and Lundgaard. Unfortunately, a lot of the fast rookies, Jimmy Johnson, Romain Grosjean, Callum Ilott, all ended up wrecking out for different reasons. They were just pushing it a little too hard. Rinus VK, same thing. Just tried to get a little more out of the car than was there, and ended up being the first car wrecked out. But yeah, so ultimately, I'm not the biggest fan of the red flagging trying to manipulate a 2-lap finish. I would rather see the race end under yellow if it's going to be a 2-lap restart, especially at a track like Indianapolis for these cars where the speeds are so dangerous. I could understand red flagging at the road courses where it's a little safer traditionally, but ultimately you run the risk so frequently of, Marcus Ericsson's crew was freaking out about their car failing on them potentially because of the not getting a fan on it. Kind of reverse of what happened with Marcus, or with Will Power at Detroit. Is the same problem that ultimately plagued him and gave the win to Ericsson's there. So, yeah, they're going on to Detroit next week. So, yeah, ultimately it was a good 500, nice clean month. But obviously, being a NASCAR channel, we were more focused on what was the final race distance? Don't know. It was like 413 laps at Charlotte tonight. But yeah, so there is just so much to unpack. I think it was like 17, 18 yellow flags throughout this race. Most of the early ones were harmless self spins by guys like Kyle Busch, um, many other drivers just having these harmless one car spins. Kyle Busch ultimately lost one lap. Really early on, Ryan Preece, Busher, and Gregson got piled up in something, but ultimately it was a very clean race until about the midway point in stage two, where you had the big wreck that took out, and it was one of the biggest wrecks a lot of us have seen at Charlotte. I think it was midway through stage two. I don't think it was before halfway. But yeah, it took out guys like Elliott, Byron, Kurt Busch. I think Keselowski and Blaney were also wiped out. And actually, Bubba Wallace was also knocked out in that wreck. Via the damaged vehicle policy, which I haven't been a fan of that for a while. I don't like the idea of sending a car out there half duct taped together because you're out of time trying to meet minimum speed, posing a danger just to try and get the lot cleared so you can come back in and fix it the right way. Like, just let the teams do it right the first time. And hey, let them take as long as they want. If they can get it fixed and get out there 60 laps down and want to try and run the thing out and at least pass some of the guys that rack out later, sure, go ahead. Let them try. Like, don't let them add the new body panels to avoid extra debris, sure. But ultimately, I think the damaged vehicle policy just leads to dangerous situations where you have cars half put together trying to go back out there and meet minimum speed. Then you had the wreck with Suarez, Busher, Justin Haley, where you had a number of drivers kind of going sliding through. Busher ends up rolling over his own broken tire, and something to do with maybe a drain under the AstroTurf, leading to his car all of a sudden going for a flip. Chris Busher, to the best of my knowledge, is okay after this wreck. So, just kind of looking back at it, it was just really wacky. The fact that you see a car kind of just sliding through the turf and all of a sudden do a nice slow first roll and then just tumble for like 6 barrel rolls down the front stretch, ultimately landing upside down. Noah Gragson, he had a couple of different issues. He had a one car spin in stage 3. Kaz Growledge was just never a factor, but he ultimately did finish the race a number of laps down. So the Money Team Racing gets a top 25 finish. And then we had the finish to the race. So, oh wow, we're already to the finish of this race, and I feel like we're only halfway into the video. So, yeah, late in this race, Kyle Larson is being chased down by Chase Briscoe. Briscoe gets to his inside, almost clears him in front of him. I actually thought he was going to end up wiping himself and potentially Larson out too, trying to clear himself in front of him. I had a little bit of a flashback to 2018 Chicagoland, where ironically Kyle Larson pulled that type of slide job move right in front of Kyle Busch, which led to Kyle Busch bumping him back in 3 and 4, leading to a fantastic finish. This time after Briscoe, he manages to not clear himself, but then he tries to get back in line behind Larson with like 7 laps to go. Ends up going for a spin, which ultimately brings out the yellow flag. Also, Amarola had some kind of issue at some point in there that also led to him slowing. Ultimately, no yellow for that, but yeah. So this yellow really set up the finish of the race. So you had Larson and a number of other drivers. Larson, Chastain being the 2 notable ones that were up front, taking 2 tires to try and just keep the track position, but have some sort of fresh tire for a 2-lap shootout, because this is where we went into our first NASCAR overtime at Charlotte. Um, ultimately, as Chastain and Larson started battling it out for the win, you had Stenhouse getting in there trying to push, and you had as Stenhouse lost momentum and fell back. You had the guys on 4 tires: Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon, um, starting to make their way through the pack. And Austin Dillon passed like 4 cars down the back straightaway and had a massive run going on Kyle Larson. Got right alongside him, was gonna pretty much drag race him to the white flag for the start finish line, and that it was gonna be a matter of trying to slide job him into turn one. Ultimately, Hamlin looks underneath. Dillon tries to give room to Hamlin. I think Larson thought that Dillon was gonna move down the track, try and give him some more room. Ends up leading to a massive wreck. Austin Dillon wiped out. Kyle Larson damaged. Number of other drivers kind of beaten in this one, but I don't think very many were actually knocked out. Let's see. Austin Dillon was knocked out. Custer was knocked out. And Logano was knocked out from that wreck. So 19 drivers did end up finishing the race somewhat close to the lead lap. I don't know if they all ended up back on the lead lap, but yeah. So after that, it left a lot of drivers kind of behind the 8 ball for the second attempt at green white checkers. So you had Hamlin versus Chastain on the front row. Then you had I think the second row was something like Kyle Busch and Harvick, Stenhouse and McDowell on the third row, I believe. Or no, it was yeah, there was some combination, but mainly that front row was the ones to watch. Chastain just had no ability to get back up to speed, maybe even kind of tire down on the restart, but managed to keep it under control. So ultimately, he had a poor finish, ended up finishing back in 15th place with the dominant car on the night, leading 153 laps. But yeah, so it ended up becoming a duel between the two Joe Gibbs Racing drivers, as Stenhouse stalled out and couldn't keep the momentum going for a top 5. Um, so ultimately, you had Hamlin out dueling Kyle Busch on those final 2 laps, leading Denny Hamlin to his first ever, I believe, Coke 600 victory here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And as he said, it was kind of one of the few majors left off his list of career wins outside of a championship, obviously. So Hamlin goes and gets his second win of the season. We are starting to see a couple more repeat winners. Kyle Busch comes home with disappointing second. Third place was Kevin Harvick. Good points day for someone who was not locked into the playoffs. Briscoe, after kind of wrecking the car to send us to the first overtime, comes home fourth. Christopher Bell, in that beautiful Yahoo scheme, comes home in the top 5. Reddick, who has been so close to getting his first win and just he can't seem to find a way to win it. No matter, he ends up finishing 6th. Stenhouse gets his 4th straight top 10 finish here in 7th. So massive congratulations to him and his team. Honestly, showing that they should be in the playoffs. And honestly, at this point, I'm rooting for them to win a race to get in the playoffs, because I think the way that Stenhouse is running right now, first off, he could point his way to the playoffs. That's going to be the first thing to check when we get the official points shakedown after this one. But yeah, I don't think points are updated yet. Let's see. Yeah, no. So points are not updated yet. So we'll have to wait. I'll be doing a whole points breakdown there. But yeah, congratulations to him on another top 10, 4 in a row now for him. actually pretty much every race post Talladega, which is normally seen as his easy top 10 track, being a factor. McDowell getting a top 10. It looked like a really solid night building for him, and ultimately a 10th place finish is great for that front row motorsports team. Both he and Todd Gilliland looked like they had borderline top 10 cars, at least among the cars that were left. So congratulations to McDowell on the top 10. Todd Gilliland came home 16th. Ty Dillon in 13th ends up being the only driver who goes incident free throughout the entire 612 miles or something, or 614 miles, something like that. But yeah, ultimately you had a lot of good drivers knocked out this race, and a lot of drivers throughout the race having massive ups and downs. Kyle Larson also quoted at the halfway break of basically saying that this is his worst race he's ever driven in his career, and he ultimately came back to finish inside the top 10. If my worst drive of my career was a top 10 finish, I'd be a-okay with that. But yeah, so ultimately you had you had Kyle Larson getting the top 10, but all in all, it was a chaotic race. I think it was like 17 cautions by the end of it. You had drivers all over the place. You had guys like McDowell, Stenhouse up there in contention for wins. Austin Dillon honestly looked like he could win this race at the very end there with the 4-tire call. I was hoping that the tire strategy would eventually matter. I don't know why nobody decided to try and stay out to gain the track position. When Larson came into pit for that first green-white checker, so I don't know. Maybe these crew chiefs are probably smarter than me, so who knows? Maybe there's some data behind how old the tires were, or needing the fresh tires that you weren't going to be able to hold them off. But if you could get like 12, 13 drivers to stay out and bury Kyle Larson, especially if they were on 2 tires, if you could bury him in traffic, he may never see the lead again in that 2-lap dash, or at the very least he'd have to work super hard to get there. So ultimately we didn't see that come into play, and yeah, so next week is the last big unknown. These next 2 weeks I think are the last 2 big unknowns, because you have the original Sonoma layout coming back 2 weeks from now, and in between you have the brand new oval in Gateway Motorsports Park. So that's another one that we're looking forward to. Those 2 races will end out the FS1 portion of the season. There will be an off week in between there for the NBC portion of the season, when NBC joins us with the Nashville Super Speedway at the end of June. So looking forward to the final 2 races on Fox. Both of them should be pretty big events. First time event at Gateway. I'm looking forward to it. You guys should be too. But yeah, so midweek I'll have an episode up discussing the points battle, because it's getting interesting, and we're kind of at the midway point here where we transition between Fox and NBC. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did enjoy this video, leave a like on the video, subscribe if you guys are new so you guys never miss an episode. I do these at least once a week throughout the NASCAR season. But until next time, I will see you guys next video, live stream, or whatever you guys decide to do for the rest of your day. Have a great day, everybody, and goodbye.